What should you do on a snowy Sunday when it's 12 degrees outside? Let's do a Macaron experiment. Today we're going to be using the Italian method of making macarons. Since we're experimenting, I'm going to take it a step further. I'm actually going to use a mixer to do the Macronaut stage instead of doing it by hand. I saw a macaron baker out of Korea do this, and I was so intrigued I had to try it for myself. Let's head to the kitchen and start experimenting.
Step 1. Measure ingredients. Step 2. Make the meringue. With the Italian method, we are going to make a sugar syrup. Start with pouring water into a small pot and then add the sugar to it. Heat sugar on medium-high. Next, add your egg whites to the mixer and add about 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. This helps to stabilize the meringue. Now turn the mixer on to low. We're going to let our egg whites whip while our sugar syrup is heating. Once the cream of tartar is incorporated, I turn it up to a 2. Our sugar syrup has been heating and we're about 10 degrees away. I'm going to add a gel food color to the sugar syrup. So we want to heat the sugar up to softball stage, which is approximately 240 degrees. One note, you need to subtract 2 degrees for every 500 feet of elevation. Since I'm at 5,000 feet, I need to stop at 230 degrees. Now it's time to pour our sugar syrup into our egg whites. Do this by slowly pouring in the sugar syrup, very slowly. It should take approximately 10 to 15 seconds. Now that we've poured all the sugar, turn the mixer up to a 6 or 7. We want to mix our meringue to a stiff peak. Here, I'm checking the stiffness of the meringue. We are almost at stiff peaks, so let's keep going a bit further. Let's check the stiffness of our peaks again. It looks like we're getting stiff peaks. See how pointy and sharp they are? This is exactly what we're looking for. Step 3, the Macaronage stage. So one of the experiments we're doing today is doing the Macaronage in the stand mixer. I'm adding the dry ingredients, which is the almond flour and powdered sugar, directly into the meringue. I'm not editing out anything. I want you to see in real time how quickly the Macaronage stage happens in the stand mixer. You'll see a timer in the bottom corner to show exactly how long this takes. Once we have all our dry ingredients in the meringue, turn the mixer up to the lowest setting to start incorporating the ingredients with the meringue. And then turn it up to a 2. One of the things I'm going to do to make sure the dry ingredients are well incorporated is just pick up the bowl and push the bottom of the bowl into the whisk. I just want to make sure those ingredients on the very bottom are incorporated. As you can see, it only took 44 seconds to get to ribbon-like stage, and this was on the low setting of the mixer. It normally takes me approximately 7 minutes to Macronage by hand. This is definitely quicker. Step 4, piping the shells. I use a template to help pipe my shells. Then I pour the batter into a piping bag that's being held in a cup. Hold the piping bag directly over the baking tray. Squeeze evenly from the top. I use my bottom hand only to guide the piping bag. Next, remove the template and place a towel on the work surface. Bang your tray a few times to release the air bubbles. Then use a toothpick to release any remaining bubbles. Now it's time for our 3-tray baking experiment. The first tray is going straight to the oven without resting and baking at 325 for 14 minutes. They say Italian macarons do not need to rest. Well, we're putting it to the test. And here's the first tray out of the oven. At first appearance, the tops look very thin. There's cracking along at least the first row of shells. There's definitely not a thick skin here. Let's let it cool and then we'll cut into the middle. Now the moment of truth. As soon as we cut in, you see the top of the shell break apart. It's very thin and fragile, and it looks like the inside is underbaked as well. Look how thin that top is. That's definitely due to not resting. The second tray, we're going to rest for 30 minutes, also bake at 325 for 14 minutes. So tray number 2 has been resting for 30 minutes, and I'm checking to see if the skin has formed. No batter should come off on my finger as I touch the shells. Now it's time to bake at 325 for 14 minutes. You see I'm using an oven thermometer. This can be your best friend, especially during experiments. And here they are after 14 minutes.
So the second batch of shells that rested for 30 minutes definitely have a stronger top. We'll have to let them cool before we can see what the inside looks like. I'm definitely a fan of resting at this point.
The shells are full, but the tops and sides are brown, and it's also hard and crunchy. That's a sign of overbaking. For tray 3, based on the previous 2 experiments, we're going to rest for 30 minutes, lower the temperature to 300, and bake for 14 minutes.
This is the third tray. It just come out of the oven. The tops feel firm like the second tray, but you can tell because I cooked at a lower temperature, they don't have the browning like you see here. So we'll let these cool for about 15 minutes and then we'll break one apart and see how it looks. That's pretty full. They're just a little on the soft side. So maybe we could have baked at 300 for, I would go 15 minutes maybe.
Okay, would I do this experiment again? Not in the way that I did it today. I may try to do the Macaronage with the mixer, maybe with the French meringue method, and just see how that goes. But for the Italian meringue method, I think I will go back to doing the traditional Macaronage by hand, just so I have more control over it, because all 3 batches, the batter seemed wet. And if you noticed, especially tray 1 and tray 3, the tops had that wet, oily look to them. That's a sign that the batter's too wet. So for the next video, what I'm gonna do is the Italian method of making meringue, just using the traditional Macronaut, and see how that turns out. I'm also trying to figure out my oven temperature using the Italian method, because it seems like I need either a higher temperature or it needs to bake longer. Tray 3 was the closest where we needed to be. It was 300 degrees at 14 minutes. Using the Italian method, I might need to increase that to 15 minutes or 16. That's what we will test in the next video. That's what I want to encourage you to do as well. You just have to make small adjustments while you're in this learning, experimenting stage. I've been making macarons now for 8 years and I still experiment. And as you can see today, they don't always turn out the way you want them to, but that's how we learn. We learn by experimenting and documenting and tweaking. And with that, make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like it and share it with your friends, and watch this other macaron video while you're here. Have a wonderful and blessed day.